Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and one of the biggest questions coming out of Solo, a Star Wars story, is, spoiler, go watch the movie because I'm about to talk about it. All clear? Cool. How the hell is Darth Maul in this movie? Ain't he dead? Are we before he dead? What year is it? So yeah, at the end of Solo, Kira turns on her boss, Dryden Voss, great last name, and uses his little decoder ring to call up a hollow projection of a hooded figure, a surprise cameo of Red Skull. I mean, Darth Maul. He's Voss's boss. Awesome. Now I'm gonna explain what this means, but first, how did Maul survive? The last time we saw Maul in the movies, he appeared to die at the hands of a young Obi-Wan Kenobi on Naboo at the end of the Phantom Menace. Obi-Wan sliced him in half and sent him tumbling down one of those big reactor shafts that are just too common in the Star Wars universe, where there's apparently no OSHA to enforce guardrails. The thing is, Maul didn't actually die there. Darth Maul was inarguably one of the coolest things to come out of these Star Wars prequels. So rather than just let his story end in Episode 1, Lucasfilm decided to bring back the character in the animated series, Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Clone Wars explores side narratives during the events of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith and the years in between, and Rebels is set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Technically, these storylines are canon, part of the official Star Wars history of events, but it was never clear how much the movies would bring elements of the animated series to the big screen, until now. So in Clone Wars, we meet a character named Savage Opress. He's a former wannabe Sith apprentice of Count Dooku and Darth Maul's brother. And a big twist happens when he finds Maul on the trash planet of Lotho Minor. And yeah, it was a pretty big WTF moment there too. Maul reveals to him that he survived by focusing on his hatred. You know how Palpatine told Vader to focus his hatred and rage to channel the dark side of the Force into keeping his broken body intact? Well, Maul did the same thing, with his rage focused on Obi-Wan. He stopped his severed body from tumbling down the shaft, and he stowed away in a trash unit on a ship that got dumped on Lotho Minor, where he survived by eating rats, and he built himself these gnarly robotic spider legs. When his brother finds him, he's a psychotic hermit who screams a lot. But Savage takes Maul back to their home planet of Dathomir, where their mother, Talzin, uses dark magic to restore Maul's sanity and give him these new bipedal legs. From there forward, Maul walks around on two robotic legs. That is why in Solo, when Maul's hollow projection stands, you can see that he does have new robotic legs in a midsection. And here Maul is revealed to be the leader of Dryden Voss's crime organization, Crimson Dawn. So how did Maul get here? So in Clone Wars, after the brothers are reunited, Maul and Savage decide to take over the galaxy. The brothers run into Obi-Wan a few times, but they fail to kill him. Obi-Wan actually cuts off Savage's arm. They also join forces with a group of Mandalorian Jedi killers called the Death Watch. Mandalorians are from Mandalore. They're known for their warriors, and their armor is very well known. It's actually the kind that Boba Fett wears. And Maul, now known as just Maul, no Darth, he's leaving his Sith days behind him. He's actually credited as just Maul in the Solo credits. He becomes this big crime lord. He's taken over the criminal operations of the Hutts and the Black Sun and the Pike Syndicate. The Pikes were actually featured in Solo. They were the group running the spice mines on Kessel. Dryden mentioned that the Crimson Dawn had a delicate alliance with them that they didn't want to openly shake up. Anyway, in the animated series, Maul's operation becomes so big that Darth Sidious tracks down his former apprentice. He kills Savage and he tortures Maul, but spares his life, deciding to deal with the Jedi first. Maul returns to Mandalore and he's nearly killed by the Jedi Ahsoka Tano, but Palpatine Sidious issues Order 66, and Ahsoka has to take off, so Maul's able to escape. And this brings us to the events of Solo in the timeline, which is between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and the rule of the Crimson Dawn. So what is the Crimson Dawn? The Crimson Dawn is a new crime organization that we heard mentioned for the first time in Solo. We can assume that Maul reorganized his old criminal connections from the Clone Wars into this new crime cult that's based around his personality. The name Crimson Dawn itself evokes Maul, of course. The dawn or resurgence of this crimson threat, red being the color of his tattoos and his lightsaber. Now Voss is definitely a wannabe Maul. Well, yeah, that Voss. But also this one. He has red streaks on his face, kind of like he's trying to go for that look that Darth Maul has. And his weapon is kind of a smaller version of Maul's dual-wield lightsaber, but with two blades extended from the fist. Dryden's lounge also features red Mandalorian armor. That's from the members of the Death Watch who wore red armor in support of Maul in Clone Wars. And a Sith holocron is visible, probably given to him by Maul. The symbol of the Crimson Dawn, shown in the brand on Kira's wrist and the image drawn by those marauders, reflects Maul's Maul's history in a way. It's a bisected set of concentric circles. Some say it evokes the circular black sun symbol or the Death Star, but to me the horizontal line reflects Maul's bow staff style lightsaber and the way he was severed at the midsection. And the circles could reflect the 360-degree movement of his dual blades. In fact, the screenwriter even mentioned Maul's martial arts style fighting method, Teras Kasi. They deliberately had Kira fight with a fluid acrobatic style, and then she tells Han, "It's what I was taught, find your opponent's weakness and use it." This is a core concept of Teras Kasi, of which Darth Maul was one of the most well-known practitioners. And this brings us to the question, why is Maul back? Well, the screenwriter said that they wanted to bring Maul back into the movies because he was one of the most powerful images to come out of the prequels, and that his face taps into our primal fears. So they called up actor and stunt performer Ray Park to play an older version of his character from the Phantom Menace, and instead of Peter Serafinowicz to do the voice, they got Sam Witwer, who voices Maul in the animated series. And if you listen very closely, they snuck in John Williams' Duel of the Fates into the music of the scene. Very cool. Now, since Maul is such a big character in the animated shows, his return presents a new interesting direction for these movie characters. He tells Kira to regroup with him on Dathomir, that was his home world from Clone Wars that I mentioned before. And I suspect Lucasfilm wants to explore more of Maul's Crimson Dawn crime network if they ever make a sequel to Solo. Or maybe the Boba Fett movie that's coming out, or the Obi-Wan movie that has been rumored. We know from Star Wars Rebels where Maul's story ends. Spoiler warning if you plan to watch Rebels ever. He tracks down the old hermit Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine and engages him in one last battle, which Obi-Wan wins, holding his old dying foe in his arms. But there's still a lot of story in between to explore, and Lucasfilm could overwrite the Rebels storyline if they come up with a new exciting arc for Maul during the Galactic Civil War. We'll see. And yeah, Maul's lightsaber is once again dual-bladed here, even though Obi-Wan severed it in the Phantom Menace duel. This could be a nod to Rebels, which features the characters the Inquisitors. They're sent by the Emperor to kill the remaining Jedi and Maul. They have a double-bladed red lightsaber, but I expect we'll learn more about how Maul completed his lightsaber if we see him in any future films. But a question I want to know from you guys, which Star Wars villain are you more excited to see in future movies? Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren, if they ever get into that, or Maul and the Crimson Dawn organization? Comment with your thoughts down below, or tweet me directly at Erik Voss, and follow New Rockstars on Twitter for more updates on our videos. Like and share this video, subscribe to New Rockstars for more Star Wars stuff, including a more in-depth breakdown of Solo for anything that you might have missed. Now, if you excuse me, this boss has some mauling to do. Wow,